Salutations, boys and girls and kiddos of all ages. To my new subscribers, thank you. To my returning viewers, welcome back. And to any new viewers of the channel, I would like to say, this is not your average toy review channel. Just a simple showcasing of all the things I like to collect in the form of action figures and toys. And now you know what all my current wonderful subscribers of the channel know, that this is Posing Action Figures with Toy the Poser. And yes, I am Toy the Poser. And this is when I go behind the camera into giant mode to show you exactly what I do here. Whoop, whoop. Now, if you notice by the thumbnail that this video will be about the new Marvel Legends, Marvel's Abomination. I know it has Incredible Hulk down there. I hope that doesn't confuse anyone. But once again, still trying to figure it out with my camera and lighting situation. This kind of seems like it's a little better than usual. So this is a good day. But for those who like packages, you can see here on the package, the back, the side, which was the same as the other side. Was it the same? Yeah, it's the exact same as the other side. The top of the package that says Incredible Hulk, because the Abomination is a Incredible Hulk villain. So if you didn't know that, there you go. Barcode people. Okay, this is gonna mess up the camera because I want to focus for you guys. So there. All right. I'm so sorry about that, but there you go. With that, yeesh. Okay. Hopefully we're back to where we are. But anywho, Marvel Legends Abomination. Marvel Legends Abomination. Before we start, let's say this for people that don't know by now, and the ones that do know, here's a repeat of what I do not like: being forced to buy action figures of characters that I already have versions of already. So, we had an Abomination. However, let's bring him in. Whoop, whoop. All right. A few years previous, before the new Abomination action figure, Marvel or Hasbro gave us this version of the Abomination, which was basically represented off the Marvel Gameverse video game, something like that. So he's not comic accurate, for the most part. And to be honest with you, it's basically his head that's the least comic accurate of all. Okay, his face sculpt or whatever. However, all right, but as I said before, and since this was my technically my Abomination, because I can't find my Toy Biz version of him. Don't know why or where I did it or how I misplaced it or whatever, but that's neither here nor there. But here's the thing. Although I do not like collecting multiple versions or the same character, I don't care if they wearing a new suit or hat or whatever. If it's the same character, I don't like getting them. I just think I don't need them. That's just how I collect. Anywho, but these are sometimes there are exceptions to the rule. So back to the current Abomination and the reason of this video. So as you can see, The new Abomination here that I magical poofed out of the box. It's the exact same thing. It's just a repaint. Same mold and scope or whatever. It's just that he comes with alternate heads, and these are the alternate heads. All right. So, yeah. All right. I'm finna mess up the lighting on the camera again, but it got to be done. Sorry, guys, till I figure this out. But okay. But any. Ooh, that was horrible. Okay. Yes. One, he comes with a more, I guess, I don't know what to say. A different head sculpt, and I think the one on him, I don't know which one is more comic accurate because different artists draw them different ways or something like that. Even though to me this one looks more like yeah, a scroll because of the chin or whatever, but I don't remember any time or any place where a scroll was portraying the Abomination. However, this one head sculpt is of Abomination, but it's of a different character. So, which means that you can put it on either one of them, because now that get off, take this one off. Once again, like I said, it's the exact same scope, just different. So we can make a more comic accurate Abomination out of this one, although his G's and crackers. Okay, try. Ooh. Okay, I forgot to warn you guys. Don't heat up your action figures before you pose them. And they are big guys, so I got to really push them back a bit. But yeah, got a little bit more of a comic accurate one. These guys are kind of big. Okay, all right. When you put the head scope on that one, and man, can I do something about one? I really got to work on this lighting situation. Anywho, and I guess I'll get in. You know what? How about we just do that? So let's put him in a cold pose. Which one? Yeah. Here. We're gonna do this just because. All right. Make him. Okay. There's another more comic accurate Abomination. And I'll do the explaining of why this head sculpt is there and all of that nature. Come on. Ooh, heat up your action figures before you pose them, because it could be tough. Okay. All right, and this is what the nightmare fuel head look like, but there's a reason why. Okay, so I guess put this big guy on one of these guys on a rotator, and I'll tell you more about Abomination and why it's okay to have multiple versions of them, or at least in this case. All right, so let's do that now. Whoop. Okay, before I bring in the monitor to give you guys a quick little bio and history of Abomination, I just wanted to do a little blurry shot in it because I'm still trying to figure out this whole camera and lighting situation. And as soon as I bring in the monitor, it's gonna kind of make things wonky. All right, so I wanted to show this part off about him. Because although he does look like it, his waist doesn't swivel And I don't think it ever did. Tell you the truth, it's a split there where his pants and his waist meet, but for some odd reason it doesn't want to swivel. Okay, but he does have a top swivel at the top, and I hate to call them butterfly joints, but because his hands doesn't cross in front of him when you mash them together, so they're weak butterfly joints in it. But yeah, like I said before, he has a calf swivel that that's one of those points of articulations that we don't really need, but I appreciate them when we do get it because sometimes they do come in handy. Anywho, all right, let's talk about who Abomination is and why it's okay to have multiple of him if you got one. So now in Marvel Comics, there have been quite a few characters that use the name or called themselves Abominations. One, like here, is a Morlock version of Abomination. Doesn't have a real name or whatever. Short history on this one guy, but it's Abomination. Calls itself Abomination. Now, the first ones I'm going to show you, the first couple I'm going to show you, you would see the difference of that they don't look much like Abomination or the one you may know of. Just like Chang Lam of Earth 1610 or 1610, however you want to say it, also called itself Abomination. And, although he doesn't look much like him, our OG Abomination, he kind of has a similar history, but we won't get it, or I should say similar way of becoming Abomination or whatever, but we won't get into that because we also need to talk about, I also want to point out other quote-unquote Abomination. This Abomination comes from Earth 52635, and thus far, don't know why his name is Abomination or whatever. Don't know a whole lot about him, but he's the most, I guess you could say, human looking Abomination, or person that's called itself Abomination. However, speaking of humans looking abominations, or humans that were abominations or whatever, now we're getting closer to what our featured character here, but this is not him. This is Leonard Sampson. And Marvel did a Heroes Reborn storyline or something like that. No need to get too fine, too in the weeds on that storyline. But Leonard Sampson, also known as Doc Sampson, during this time or something like that, also end up, and if anybody doesn't know, Doc Sampson did infuse with gamma radiation, just like the Hulk and all of that, for whatever reasons. But he also once was transformed into the quote unquote Abomination. All right. So there's another Abomination. But as you can see now we're getting more into familiar looking Abominations, because Igor Drinkov, I'm probably screwing that name up as I do, but from Earth 13159, was also turned into an Abomination, but he didn't last long. But yeah, regardless of the fact, as you can see, once again, he looked more like our conventional looking Abomination. And now there was also Jamie Carlson, who was the teen Abomination. Then there's Reginald Fontaine, who was a general or regular colonel or something. He was in the military, the Air Force to be exact. I think that's what it was. However, he ended up becoming the Abomination, or an Abomination, or whatever you want to call it. He used the name Abomination, regardless of the fact. gamma ray radiation, all that stuff too. Also, as you can see, he also has the finger face or head sculpt or head for the Abomination. But speaking of which, the next version of the Abomination that I can think of, that I mean there are a lot more, but these are the main ones that I think are the most noticeable, or I guess relevant. And okay, it's Richard Jones, and Rick Jones for short. And yes, if you're wondering, it is the same Rick Jones that was A-Bomb, a blue version, hulked out version, or Abomination version, or whatever. Gamma monster like the Hulk and Abomination. However, and although I should say, Rick Jones did become a lot of different characters, or went by a lot of different aliases names. He even did things like merge with Captain Marvel or something like that. Became, I think, either became or came a part of the Captain Marvel or something like that. Anyway, but that's neither here nor there, because the main reason we have that hideous looking finger face head sculpt Abomination for Abomination is because of Rick Jones. Because and I think it was the Immortal Hulk storyline or something like that. Rick Jones became a version of the Abomination, and this is what he looked like. But no matter how you slice it and dice it, or anything of that nature, let's not kid ourselves, people. There's really only one true Abomination that we all know and love, and this is the one we're going to sit here and talk about today, because created in 1967 and created by Stan Lee and Gil Kane, first appearing in Submariner and the Incredible Hulk, we have Emil or whatever. Bolonsky was a communist spy that infiltrated the U.S. military. And just in case I'm not 100% sure that I am pronouncing his name properly, but Emil Bolonsky, let's go with that. Okay, but anywho, Bolonsky infiltrated a military base that was commanded by General Thaddeus Ross, spoiler alert, who later becomes the Red Hulk, but also military base that also was the workplace of a young strapping scientist, nuclear scientist by the name of Bruce Banner. And yes, it's the Bruce Banner that becomes the Hulk. But anyway, Dr. Bruce Banner was doing some experiments with gamma radiation, which Bolonsky tried several times to sabotage that plan, for reasons, because he's a spy. He's a bad guy. He's a communist spy. And although Bolonsky's attempts always failed, along comes an alien by the name of the Stranger. And for some odd reason, the Stranger did not think that Earthlings were responsible enough to, I guess, deal with gamma radiation. Well, in order to stop them, I guess, or one day, the Stranger took over the mind of the Incredible Hulk. However, while as the Incredible Hulk, the Incredible Hulk's persona of Dr. Bruce Banner was not affected. So even though the Incredible Hulk was under the mind control of the Stranger, he still was able to turn back into Dr. Bruce Banner. And when he did turn back into his human form of Dr. Bruce Banner, who was very aware of what was going on, this is when Dr. Bruce Banner had a plan that where he decided that in order to prevent the Stranger from taking over his mind again as the Hulk, he would just delete himself from existence. So in order for him to do that, he created a machine that would help him do that. And in that way, I think it was supposed to bombard his entire body with enough gamma radiation to totally, evaporate him or try to. But little did Dr. Banner know that the communist spy Bolonsky was also hiding out in his laboratory, Dr. Banner's laboratory, of course, while watching him work on the machine. And before Dr. Banner could inject himself or bombard himself with the gamma radiation, Emily Eve Bolonsky jumped in front of the machine and bombarded, I guess took on the blunt of all the gamma radiation that of in his own body himself. And just like it didn't destroy him, because just like the Dr. Banner could turn into the reason why Bruce Banner could turn into the Incredible Hulk is because he possessed a certain type of genetic or gene in his body that actually activates when he got exposed to gamma radiation, so it didn't, kill him. And apparently Bolonsky possesses the same gene in his body. So when all those gamma radiations hit Bolonsky in his body, he was transformed into what we know as now as the Abomination. Okay? Basically, another version of the Incredible Hulk, but uglier. I guess, I don't know. That's the best way to say it. Anywho, that's how Emil Bolonsky became the creature known as Abomination. All right, and just like the Incredible Hulk, Bolonsky is extremely strong and extremely durable. And that's pretty much it. As a matter of fact, Bolonsky is a little bit stronger than the Incredible Hulk in his normal state. Because if anybody didn't know, the angrier the Hulk gets, the stronger he gets. Bolonsky, Abomination, at this point now, doesn't do that. And also, Abomination is permanently the Abomination. He can't transform back like the Incredible Hulk can back into Bruce Banner. And I know you guys seen the movie or the She-Hulk TV show where he can transform back and stuff like that. Originally, I don't know if they made this a new thing now, something like that, but originally, Abomination could not transform back. He was Abomination permanently from this point on after that. So technically, the Abomination is technically stronger than the Incredible Hulk but in Incredible Hulk's normal form, as I should say. So if the Hulk don't get super mad or anything like that, the Abomination almost beat the Incredible Hulk to death one time. Also, the Abomination, even though he can't change back into his human form, his abomination form now has stronger lung capacity than the Hulk, so he can hold his breath underwater a lot longer than the Hulk. Um, he's he's a lot more durable than the Hulk. To a point where like he can even if he takes an extreme amount of pain or things like that, his body just goes into some like coma like state, what they call suspended animation or anything like that, to a point where he'll just survive, that way indefinitely until he just wake back up and, fully heal or something of that nature. And then on top of that, the Abomination has the ability to track down the Hulk anywhere he is. So I guess he has a sense to that no matter where the Hulk is at or find or something, he's able to track him down and find him. All that. Now, later on, I think when Abomination died, he was brought back to life, and he got like a little bit of an upgrade to a point where he could breathe fire and stuff like that. But I can't 100% confirm that. So let's just move on. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Let's size him up now. Representing the 136 scale action figure size, we have whoop, Herbie from the early 2000s Toy Biz Fantastic Four multi-pack. And Herbie is standing at approximately 2 inches tall, the average 136 scale action figure size. But representing the 1/18th scale action figure size, we have the Geno Strikes 3-minute project that I like to call Waist High Ninjas guy, Gary for short. All right, and Gary stands at approximately 3 3/4 inches tall, which is I think like a quarter shorter than the average 1/18th scale action figure size, which is supposed to be 4 inches. But anywho, yeah, it's around 3 3/4 to 4 inches tall. But neither. Let's move on. Representing the 1/12th scale action figure size, we have the man who's responsible for this guy. That's Stan the Man, my main man, Stan, the Hasbro Legends Stan Lee action figure, who stands at approximately 6 inches tall, which is the average 1/12th scale action figure size. And last but not least, representing the 1/10th scale action figure size, we have the NECA homebody action figure that I like to call Buck, the bigger figure. Oh yeah. All right. And Buck stands at approximately 7 inches tall, which is the average 1/10th scale action figure size. So, and as you can see, Abomination is head and shoulders and head taller than everybody on this lineup, but he stands at approximately a little over 9 inches tall, which is weird which is not comic book accurate, because comic book accurate, I think Abomination was, believe it or not, is like 6'7" or something like that. No, 6'8". I just checked. He's 6'8" in his actual Abomination form of stuff, but which is odd because he's supposed to be a lot bigger than the Hulk, and on average, the Hulk stands about like the average size Hulk when he's just regular Hulk is just 7 feet tall. But of course he grows when he gets angry and stuff like that. However, the smallest version of the Hulk is when he's in his Joe Fixit form, and that's I guess you can call him Gray Hulk, but it's the Joe Fixit Hulk, and he's only come by according to the comic book guideline. He's only 6 feet 6 inches tall, so he's only 6'6". That's so either way it go. All right, Abomination, according to the comics, not supposed to be this big. However, he's supposed to be bigger than the Hulk. So go figure. Whoop, whoop, whoop. But here's to say that once again, although I got two versions of an Abomination, but actually this time it's not the same character technically, because if you put this head sculpt on, he can be Rick Jones until we get a proper Rick Jones action figure, which 9 times out of 10 people want to see Rick Jones as A-Bomb, the blue version. Or you can make him General Reginald James. Although the head sculpt is not 100% accurate, I think it's accurate enough or it's good enough to, pretend that you can use him as General Reginald James. Or, whoop, whoop, you can just put the other comic accurate Abomination head back on him, which I think this one is supposed to be more comic accurate or original than that one. I think that one's more modern and this one's more original or first appearance or whatever. But regardless of the fact, the other Abomination that looked like this the most, that was Earth's 13159 Abomination. And although he's not alive anymore, that was I think the last Abomination that looked more like the original Abomination, that could use the second OG looking Abomination head sculpt. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you really wanted to, you can have multiple Abominations. You don't have to throw away none that was made, because I think how many Abominations were made so far in 1/12 scale, of course, or near 1/12 scale. Well, there's of course your current two. Then there's the first Toy Biz Abomination, which although I can't find mine or I don't know whatever happened to it, but no, he wasn't nowhere near as big as those. But I think he was more quote unquote comic accurate size, because he had to have been like around 6 inches, or at least 6.5 inches tall. He was taller than the average ones. Average action figures that was like around 6 inches tall. So if you wanna, that could be your original Abomination. And then you had the Marvel Select Abomination, which was of course a lot bigger than your average 1/10 or 1/12 scale. I think it was more on a 1/10, probably even 1/6 scale. Barbie doll size. I can't remember, but only problem with this Abomination is that it had too many toes. All right, mainly. But yeah, so that's 4 Abominations that were made that could probably still stand. So let me see. You got the original Abomination, who is Emil Blonsky. Then you got Igor, who looks more like Emil Blonsky. All right, and then you have Fingerface Abomination, which could be either Rick Jones, which he looks more like, or you can just pretend and let him be Reginald James. All right, the other Abomination had finger faces. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that it's okay to have multiple Abominations and they be different characters. Okay, I don't know why I took him out. But also, all right, and finger face form too. So yeah, if I had another body on us, that I could still put this on that, and I could have Igor, Emil Blonsky, and Rick Jones, or Richard Reginald James. Okay, or get two of the new Abominations, because the old one was a builder figure, so it'll be hard to find. So just get him. Okay, two of those. Then you can have Igor and Alonsky and two other heads that you can put on to make Rick Jones or Reginald James. You see what I mean? Okay, enough of that. All right, so whoop, whoop. And there you have it, kiddos. This is a perfect case of saying the more the merrier. Thanks for stopping by, big guy. And now that I'm totally confused, I don't know which big guy you are, so I'm just going to say, see you later, Abomination.
You know, if you wanna, you could just call me Agent R7. That's what the guys back at the base call me. But till then, later.
Whoop. I have no idea what that means, but while we sit here and try to figure it out, here's some advice I would like to give you if you don't have much to do on right now. Just a little tip from my own mother when I find myself in the same dilemma. Go somewhere and play. Till the next video, guys. Ta-ta for now.